Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming at you live from Film Fanatic headquarters. It is 10:29 on a Thursday. It's actually a beautiful day. It's blue skies, sunny day. Haven't been outside yet, but working my way onto doing that. So we've been yeah, it's been pretty gray, cold, and overcast. A lot of rain. So it's nice to see the sun. I hope it lasts for a couple of days. The weather's been kind of crappy. But anyway, always a good time to watch movies and all those things. I am going to be starting a series pretty soon here. I acquired a pretty awesome collection of a bunch of old school westerns from like the 70s, 60s, and some even from the 50s. Pretty old school movies with Charles Bronson and John Wayne. And there's a handful of the movies that I've never seen before. So I'm gonna be checking those out. I might start watching those tonight. So I'm pretty excited about checking those out. And when when and if when I do it, if it's tonight, I will probably be starting a new series on covering a whole bunch of these movies. I got this really cool collection of movies for free. Basically, it's all DVD movies, and there's like a ton of these old school westerns on it. So I'm kind of excited about checking them out. And when when and where I do that, I'll probably make a series of videos talking about all these movies. I've skimmed through it, and I there's not a whole lot that I think I've seen. So pretty awesome. Other than that, yeah, I've been checking out movies, doing my thing here. I just uploaded a new video. I've been doing a lot of music shows lately, which has been a lot of fun. I've always done music shows for Film Fanatic, but I've been doing a little bit more. I've been doing some shows on Autechre and Anthony Papa. I just uploaded a brand new show that I did yesterday. I also been doing some shows on Deaf Heaven. Check those out. Amazing, amazing band. And I just did a show yesterday. I just uploaded it this morning on a band called Imperial Triumphant, which is just a gonzo crazy metal band that I just totally adore. I think they're one of the coolest bands and one of the most strikingly original things I've heard in years. Really wild and just they're insane. And so yeah, check that out. I just uploaded that. And before I get into today's movie video or review, uh, a lot of the times I like to give some updates about my band Quantum. So I'll talk about that for a couple of minutes and then get into the review. As we get closer to these dates, some of these dates are starting next month. There'll be some promotion and all those things. I haven't really done any promotion yet, just because some of these dates are a little ways away. So stay tuned for that. That will be happening. The one gig that I'm really excited about, which is the farthest one away, is we're going to be Quantum will be doing a show at Blue in Portland, which is a super cool place. I've had the pleasure of playing there quite a few times over the last few years, and I finally got us a gig there to play, and it's going to be a pretty cool show. I think Osmia, which is a band I just started playing with last year, just an awesome band. They're going to also be playing with us, and then the Button Men will be joining us too. So that's going to be quite a bill. I'm really excited about that. So that's a ways away, but that will be coming up. Another show that we'll be doing is we're going to be doing another show at Hey Sailor, also again with the Button Men. We played at Hey Sailor probably about maybe a month ago or so, and or a month or two or ago. It might have been 2 months ago now. We'll be playing Quantum will be playing at Hey Sailor this summer with the Button Men again. We've played. This will be our fourth gig playing together. Button Men is really fantastic kind of 80s electro band. Wally, such a cool guy. So we'll be doing another show together in I think it's July at Hey Sailor. So stay tuned for that. And another show that we're going to be doing soon is one that we've been doing for for a really long time, almost since the inception of the band. Ever since we started Quantum, we've been kind of doing it. I think there was only one year we didn't do it because it was it was a chaotic day and my equipment died. My equipment literally died and frizzed out during the show. I think we got maybe 45 minutes into the gig and all my equipment literally died. The brains in my electronic drum machine, or the brain, just literally died. But other than that, we've been doing it almost 10 years, which is just crazy. But we'll be back playing again this summer at the Camden Amphitheater in Camden, Maine, which is actually, it's a free show, but it's actually one of my favorite shows to do just because the location is amazing. It's a, beautiful amphitheater. And, the natural acoustics are awesome, and it's always usually a really fun time. So we'll be doing that again this summer. Another show that we're going to be doing that I'm excited about is we're going to be doing another show coming up this summer where it's going to be, I guess, kind of a little mini music electronic festival. But we'll be playing down in Thomaston at Hot Hill Tavern with my buddies Halsey and Ronnie. They both have these really amazing electronic groups, and we've played quite a few shows together. We had we had a album release show in November of last year, and those guys both played with us or opened up for us, and that was super fun. That was a real highlight of last year. We did that at Hey Sailor. But this other show that's coming up this summer, we'll be playing with with those guys at Hot Hill Tavern, and it'll be all three of our groups playing together. So stay tuned for that. There's been a little bit of promotion already for that, so there'll be more of that coming up soon, the closer it gets. And then another show that we just got that just came in is Quantum will be doing a set at a fundraiser for a local music school, and that's all still a little bit in development. That just kind of all came about and was booked. So really really excited about that. And it's for a good cause. It's for a local music school here in Midcoast, Maine. And so Quantum will be playing. There's going to be probably a bunch of other bands and groups playing at that. And we will be playing also to help raise money for a really great cause. So that will be coming up this summer. And then another one that I'm really, really excited, which is a party we just got. There's going to be a big party over on the island of Islesboro, which is a small little island, and it's a tiny little ferry ride over to it from you take the the ferry from Lincolnville, and I've played over there a handful of times, and there's going to be a big kind of all day. It started off as originally it was going to be like a memorial service party kind of a thing for a friend of this group of people that we've played parties for before. One of their friends had passed away, and originally it was just going to be us playing a set. And then the people who were putting together this whole party had this idea of really expanding it and making it a bigger event. So they brought in more bands and more music, and we just got asked to do a Quantum set at this party. So that's going to be fun. So we'll be playing there, and it's technically a private party, but I think it will also kind of be a little bit open. So that's pretty exciting. So I'm excited about doing that. We'll be doing that this summer, playing at a big outdoor kind of party at on Allsboro. That will be our first time doing that, and that's going to be coming up in a couple of months or so. And then one show I'm really really excited about is Quantum will be playing at the All Roads Festival in Belfast. This will be our third show at this festival, and the All Roads Festival is there's so many festivals that happen during the summertime. Just all over the place in Maine and just abroad, like everywhere. That's usually the festival time. And I've been to a lot of festivals, over the years, a lot of music festivals, and I've been fortunate to play at a lot of music festivals. And I think this one is the best one. It's just really organized. They have they treat the bands really really well, and the sound crew that they hire to do to do this festival is just incredible. We played there we played there twice 2 years ago, which is hard to believe. So we played there on a Friday and a Saturday, and we're going to be playing there on a Saturday night this year. They asked us about coming back, so very very excited about that. That's going to be coming up soon, and there'll be a bunch of promotion for that. That's already kind of been out there. So, and there'll be more. I'm working on getting some more things going for the summer. There's still some more tentative dates that I'm kind of reaching out to venues about. So stay tuned for that. So yeah, looking forward to all of these shows coming up this year. I tried to keep the band, tried to keep Quantum a little bit busier this year. So we'll keep on keeping on. So this brings me to a movie that, it's just such a badass movie. This is a movie I bought a couple of years ago. I think I did a review on this movie a few years ago. I don't think it's my on this channel. I don't think it's on YouTube channel. When I first started doing video content for Film Film Fanatic, it was I strictly just had a Facebook page, Film Fanatic, which is still in existence. I don't really upload on it because I feel like I don't really use it. I mean, it's still in existence, but the Facebook, well, the world in general is just crazy. But I've found that social media is incredibly weird these days, and especially Facebook. Algorithms and all this shit, I don't get it really anymore, and everything just seems really off and strange. And I, put a lot of time into that page, and I just feel like it's not really going anywhere because ever since the last year or two, it's just been really weird, and I've been just kind of staying off it more. It's still active, and occasionally I still put stuff on it, but I generally don't because it just seems, I don't know, to be honest, it just seems useless because people don't really check it out, and it doesn't get any traction. It's very weird, and a few other reasons too. I don't really use it anymore. I also have a Instagram page, which again, same kind of thing. Instagram's really weird. So I pretty much just use Facebook for Messenger, but then I use it for promoting shows or gigs. That's really it, and Instagram too. But as far as movie stuff goes, I just use my YouTube channel because that seems to be worth the effort. So I did a review on this movie, I think when I first started getting into doing video content for Facebook, Facebook Live, for Film Fanatic, and I was doing a series. I did a bunch of videos where I was doing these live videos, and I believe I did a show on this movie then. And I don't think I did a show on this channel about this movie, but even if I did, this movie is so awesome, it's worth talking about. And I got this movie a few years ago, and I just watched it last night, and it's such a killer movie. It's Killzone. Beautiful packaging. It's an old school, like kind of war exploitation movie from 1985. It's really funny because if you Google this movie, Killzone, but if you don't type in the year, you'll get there's like I don't know dozens of other movies that come up that are from like the 80s and even in the 2000s and even a few movies that came out pretty recently that are all called Killzone. But this is the primetime shit right here. This movie is so awesome. I watched this last night. It's a real beautiful package. Again, I've had this movie for a few years, but such an awesome movie. I never hear this movie talked about. It's definitely one of the best kind of war movies that I own, kind of in the exploitation world. Came out in 1985, and it's really awesome. There's some really great special features on here. Um, it was directed by David Pryor, and writers Jack Marino and David Pryor also wrote this. And there's a really great interview with Jack Marino on this Blu-ray, and where they basically were, this movie came out a few years after Sylvester Stallone's First Blood came out. Of course, an iconic action classic, one of the best Stallone movies. But it's funny because they basically, you know, this is kind of like the exploitation version of Rambo. Rambo of First Blood. First Blood had a big budget. It's a big action Hollywood movie, especially for the time. But this movie had like, I think they shot this movie for like $30,000, which is completely insane. And they totally like ripped it off in some ways. They even used some of the same music, which I don't know how they did that, but they did, and it's hilarious. So it's like it's the story itself of Killzone is really different, and it's actually really awesome. But there's so many things that they kind of stole from Rambo, and it's kind of hilarious and funny because this is like it's solo budget and it's kind of cheesy and awful, but it's so fucking awesome. It's like the really bad exploitation version of Rambo. The one thing I will say that is the story for this movie is really good, and it's totally different than Rambo, than First Blood. That way, it's basically set up. The premise of the story is the military are doing these. This movie takes place in the 80s. It came out in 85, and it takes place in the 80s. And basically, what the story is that the military are doing these kind of play acting real life kind of scenario training camps. Basically, these simulated training camps for these soldiers. Of what it's like to be in a war or a battle, but then also to be possibly captured and kept as a prisoner of war. And it's set up. The military sets up these camps to like, and they're supposed to be like simulated actions of of these worst case scenarios. And but what ends up happening, one of the lead characters is actually this guy who is a Vietnam veteran who has who served in Vietnam, and he has you know terrible PTSD. And so what ends up happening, he ends up basically losing his mind during these simulated training scenarios, and thinks that everything that's happening is real life. So he ends up going crazy and basically, you know, kills everyone basically. And in order to quell this situation, the military goes after this guy with the intent of executing him, and it's fucking wild. It's so bonkers. Super entertaining. I love the premise of the story. It stars Fritz Matthews and David Campbell. Badass action stars. This movie is chock full of just killer action. A lot of hand to hand combat. There's actually a lot of like martial arts in this movie that is kind of terrible and amazing. But it's awesome. It's such a great action movie, and it's such a low budget, trashy kind of exploitation version of First Blood. Even though, again, the story is radically different. And this movie has a real interesting history. There was a whole series of all of these movies that came out in the 80s that basically were made, but they never got a theatrical release. And basically, a lot of these movies went directly to They were made and they didn't get any distribution, and they went right to VHS. And this was one of the series of there was a whole like series of action movies that came out in the 80s that they were made and then they couldn't get a distribution and they went right to VHS. And they were all like these real, cheesy, kind of low budget, action movies. Similar to Canon films, which put out a lot of the American Ninja films and Enter the Ninja, all these classic cheesy ass action ninja movies, which I love to death. And these movies are, and this movie in particular has that same kind of tone. But very, very cool. And there's a really great interview on here with with Jack Marino, who was one of the writers, and he talks about how, he went to originally with these lofty ideas, like most people do when they're in, in the world of film. He went to Hollywood for 4 years with this ambition of becoming, a director and getting involved with movies and making a lot of money doing it. And for 4 years, they just were in. He was in total, failure mode. Nothing stuck. He couldn't find any, finances. Couldn't get any work. Struggled for 4 years, and finally they just like Jack Marino talks about in this interview where he just was like, after 4 years, he was just like, I can't do this anymore. And then he went back home, and he was talking about, a couple of years before, I think First Blood, I could be wrong, but I think First Blood came out in 82. So that year or so, he came home just kind of defeated from, being chewed up and spit out by Hollywood. Couldn't find any work, and then he saw First Blood. And then he was like, oh, maybe what I can do is make a movie like Sylvester Stallone's First Blood. And basically that's what they set out to do, and he wrote this story. And his parents, his dad, shelled out the money initially. And then after they got a few $1,000s, they ended up going around and raising money. And they shot this whole movie for like $30,000, which is fucking insane. Crazy. $30,000. Like that's nothing. You know. That's like a lunch tab for Hollywood actors. It's crazy. And, considering how low budget this movie is, it's really well done. I mean, there's a lot of elaborate chase sequences. There's a lot of great action sequences. The locations are really awesome. It feels really real. It feels like it was shot for quite a bit more, even though it is very low budget. It's definitely an exploitation movie. But, it's such an awesome movie, and they really utilized every cent for what you see on the big screen. Awesome movie, Killzone, 1985. If you want some really killer, great action, this is it. So definitely check this out. Love this movie. Thanks again, and we will see you next time. Peace.